Shirley, Julia, Piazza. No, correction, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Shirley, Julia, Turcotte, Piazza.
All right. And what's your birthday?
April the 6th, 1929.
Wow. So how old does that make you?
96, April of 2025. I made 95 in April. My mother's name was Cecile Elvina Cario Turcotte. And my father's name was Walter Francis Turcotte Jr. I go back about 8 or 9 generations in Waveland. I attended Waveland School in 1937 to wait a minute, now I'm lost here. 1944, I think it was. Well, we walked to school. And I'll be honest with you, we walked to school and we didn't walk on the street or anything. We walked on the sandbars to school. And when we got to school, we had wet feet. And that was one thing we did.
Did you ever get in trouble for having wet feet?
No, ma'am. And no other way to get to school. Walk. And, of course, we were young kids. We thought that was fun.
Who did you walk to school with?
My brother and 5 or 6 kids in the neighborhood.
And who were some of your teachers there at Waveland School?
Well, my first grade teacher was Ollie Curette. Curet. She was a very kind teacher. I liked her. I got along well with her, and she was a good person. Well, then I had Miss Mary Margaret Zimmerman and Mary Perkins, who was the principal of the old school. And I think that's all I had. When I started in first grade, we had reading, writing, arithmetic, so just like you used to hear the old song. And as we moved up into the different grades, we had the geography, and different subjects about different countries and what have you. It was from first grade to the 8th grade.
Okay.
But I went from the first grade to the 7th grade.
Who were some of your best friends that you remember from that time?
My best friends was Barbara Ann Jenkins, Catherine Bourgeois, Teresa Bodash, Audrey Bourgeois, Linnell April. And, I could think of more because I had quite a few of them.
And so tell me about the cafeteria. Where did you eat for lunch?
Well, for our lunch, we didn't have a cafeteria at school. We had to walk down to the old City Hall, which was located on the corner of Coleman Avenue, and I think the last other name was Bourgeois Street. They served us just cabbage, red beans, and at holidays we had a holiday meal, and we were hot biscuits, you name it, and we had it. We were well taken care of.
Can you explain where the classrooms were?
Yes, ma'am. As you go into the building, you take a right. You go to the left side of the opening, and at the very end was the 1st and 2nd grade class. And next to that was the 4th and 5th. Wait, 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th. And then you come out of there, you take a left, you go down the hallway, then there was the fourth and the fifth, and then you had to, wait, I'm backwards, first and second, third and fourth, fifth and sixth was across the hall, and go down the hallway, you had the sixth and seventh and the eighth grade.
How did they discipline students back then?
Well, as far as I can remember, they used to paddle.
So did you ever get the paddle?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I never shut up.
So what?
And I can tell you, too, let me go back to the first grade. Miss Olive, she was a personal friend of the family's. And my mother told her, you can punish her any way you want. And like I told you, I never shut up, honey. I yet talk. And one day, I don't know how many times Miss Ollie told me, Shirley, be quiet, quiet. And she put me, in them days, we had the old-time black, mahogany or whatever, desk. And it was one big desk with the bottom opening, that's all. And one day she put me under that desk. And that taught me a lesson. The next time she said, hush, I hushed.
So how long were you under the desk?
No more than 5 minutes.
Okay, but it taught you the lesson.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any other stories like that or things that were funny that happened at school?
Yes, I do. And then we had what they call the auditorium, which is the baker shop now. Have you been in the building lately?
I have, yes.
Well, there's a baker shop in the auditorium now. And they had that big stage. And we had a May Festival, Christmas programs, and the May Festival, we would do the Maypole dance, and I was picked to do somersaults across the stage.
You did the somersaults?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, how many could you do in a row?
Well, I'd go somersault, and then I'd go on like a crab walk, and then 2, 3 others. And we had a maypole dance that was on the stage, and I was in the maypole dance. And
were you crowned something?
I was crowned May Queen.
You were May Queen, so tell me about that. What kind of things did you do?
Well, what do you mean now? What I do to be May Queen or what?
Yes, what was the process to become May Queen, and then what were your responsibilities?
Well, it was open, the title was open to any high student, mostly higher grades. And then we had to build up funds, and like having bingos and cupcake sales and what have you. And I out of the 2, 3 girls that was running for Queen, I would come in with this almost $800.
Wow, how did you earn the $800?
Well, like I tell you, we had cupcake sales. We'd sell raffles, and there was something else we'd done. I can't remember what it was, but it was raising money. And then candy. It was a company that'd come in, and we'd buy candy bars, and we'd sell the candy bars.
And so you brought in the most money, and then once you became the May Queen, did you have any responsibilities to do? Like, did you do any charity?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. It was at the closing of the school year.
And what were some other events that you remember from school or funny things that happened?
Okay, then we had the merry-go-round, and we put on that and get away when you got to you to get off in time and peg the rag, the handkerchief, whatever, behind somebody else. And yes, ma'am, that's how we did it.
Okay, so that's what you would do, like for recess?
What's that, honey?
Is that what you did for recess or for playtime?
Playtime. Oh, and we played basketball, but we were on what they call that, yellow clay court. We had no gym, no building, no nothing. It was on the dirt, the soil.
So if you were looking at the school, where would that basketball court have been?
You know, as you go in the side by the ramp.
Yep.
To get up, well, it was a little bit in front of that, towards the right. Well, after school, we came home, and we got busy on homework before we done anything else. And after we got through with homework, we'd go outside and play with all the kids in the neighborhood. We'd play ball, and there was another one, hide and seek.
How would you know it was time to go home?
Well, it was in somebody's yard. You know, it was in each different children of the neighborhood, and we'd just go home. We had more or less had to be home for about 4:30, and then we were doing pretty good till Katrina come along. Well, we had a storm in 1947. The water came up. We didn't lose the home, but it was ruined. We had to take out floor and wall and all. And then that was back in 1947. And then when Katrina come along, it wiped us out. Well, back in 47, the water came up to where I was. And in my house, I guess about 3-4 inches. And we left home where I lived 2 houses off the beachfront. And when we left home, I left her in my back step. And they had one boat, skiff you call, to take the people to safe. And I had an old aunt. She wouldn't get in the boat. So I got down on the steps and went through an open a field with her in water up to my breast. And when we got to the Market Street, the man that had the boat, he took the pregnant women and young kids first, and then they made trips. When we got so far down Market Street, it was too deep to walk, so we hung on to the barbed wire fence.
Wow.
1947. Well, the house was moved off the foundation, was turned around.
What about Katrina? What was that like for you?
Well, Katrina, I left home on a Sunday morning. I went to Jackson, Mississippi by a niece, and I stayed there for 6 weeks. My children came home after the storm. Once a week they'd come home, but they wouldn't bring me back. Until 6 weeks later, I went home. And when I came home to nothing but 2 front steps.
Wow.
Well, I just made the best of it. And then I moved. We had trailers come in. And my son was on Waveland Avenue. So we moved. They brought us a trailer by him. And in his yard, we had 6 trailers. They're all family. And so we stay in a trailer from the storm, Katrina storm. Well, people helped each other. We all moved together. And then this began coming back. We had electricity. I don't think we were out of electricity very long. And then the community kept growing and growing, and the town kept growing and coming back to normal, and that was it. Oh, honey, as a kid, we lived on the beachfront. We'd get in the water and have a blast. Myself and the 5-6 kids in the neighborhood, and we'd go sit out on that beachfront. We'd have a packets of lunch with an ice chest with cold drinks, and we'd sit on that beach all day long. crabbing, fishing, and what have you. Back then, we had a train to go through in the morning at 7 o'clock for commuters, and he would come back at 5:30. Wait, it take not 5:30. I think 6:30, 20 minutes to 7. He would come back with the commuters. That's the only way transportation that we had for a while. It was the train, and that we sure did use the train. And I ended up back in 1950 or 51. I went to work in New Orleans, and I commuted on the train 7:20, 20 minutes to 7 in the morning. And then I came back home at 5:30, 6 o'clock. But that's how we went, back and forth to New Orleans on the train. Well, when I left New Orleans, I worked at the post office. I worked at the city hall in Waveland. I went to, I worked for Ramsey's clothing store in Bay St. Louis, and that was it. And then I got married and started raising a family, and that was it. And then I raised my family. I raised 11 grandchildren. I had 12 with a set of triplets. And they were about 3 months old when one of them passed away. And then I've been taking care of grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and trying to do the best I can with myself. Well, I went to the Justice of the Peace in Picayune in November of 53. And on December the 26th, 53, I married in the Catholic Church.
What church do you go to?
St. Clair's Church, Catholic Church in Waveland. Oh, yes, ma'am. I went to the church. I studied the catechism, made my first communion. And back in them days, you had a first communion, a little communion, and a big communion. And in the little communion, we wore wreaths and veils. And in the section was the big communion, we carried a candle.
If you could say anything to the kids in Waveland, what would you tell them?
Would I do what, hon?
What advice would you give about Waveland?
I wouldn't take $1 million for it. It's ideal. It's very cozy, very friendly, and like I say, I wouldn't go anywhere else but Waveland. Oh, yeah, but I would like to say I'm perfectly satisfied right here. But I was raised with, we were 6 girls and 1 boy in my family. And I was number 6. My brother was the baby.
Well, it sounds like you've lived a long, good life.
I have, honey. I had a good life. The old saying goes, life is what you make it. If you're going to make it dull, it's going to be dull. But I've had a good life. Well, I grew up in Waveland in the early part of my life, and we had no entertainment whatsoever. But later on, as time went on, we had a movie on Coleman Avenue. We had nightclubs, which I couldn't go, parents wouldn't allow. And then grocery stores moved in. They had a skating ring at one time. And all these things, as things moved in, the city just grew. Well, it was a close atmosphere. And people got along, and everybody knew everybody. And it was just friends here and friends there. And when anything went on in the city, everybody was there. No, now, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.